First thing is for you to save your life and go. I've seen wives kill.
Legal delays and possible institutional retreats. While public concern continue to grow, some questions are begging for answers. Where is the children's medical reports? Why are institutions withdrawing from the case? And finally, are the children truly safe? What becomes of their mother, who is now facing criminal charges? In ENUGU, Chinemere Mikebunam, Signature TV News.
The breaking news for the day is that Nnamdi Kanu has been sentenced to life imprisonment. And we brought you that story earlier on. Joining us now to throw more light on the judgment is Abuja correspondent Nwabeze Njoko. Good evening, Nwabeze.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you this evening?
Well, it's an interesting evening in Abuja today.
So what more can you tell us about the judgment, the drama, and all that?
You know, sometimes they say that you don't judge a book by its cover. That's all those who tell you that the morning signposts the day. Now, when I say the morning signposts the day, it's because today at Court 7 of the Federal High Court in Abuja, right from the morning, the unusually heavy security presence of combined military, police, and DSS gave a clear indication that there could be a fundamental judicial pronouncement on the case today. And that created considerable anxiety, if not public interest, in what was going on in the court, presided over by Justice James Omotosho in Court 7 of the Federal High Court in Abuja. But around 11 o'clock, when the justice was about to begin giving his judgment, or in the course of it, in fact, Nnamdi Kanu raised strident objections. His objections were on two grounds. The first is that the law under which he is charged is a law not existing in the Nigerian statute books because that law has been repealed. The second is that of jurisdiction, that the court itself lacked the jurisdiction to try his case. He kept citing a previous appeal court judgment which said that the method of his arrest was illegal and you cannot place any court proceedings on that illegality. That was Nnamdi Kanu's insistence, and he said that these two matters had to be resolved ab initio before any judge or any court can proceed, and then he could enter defense. I must tell you this evening that he was a bit high-pitched, and the court considered it as indisciplined, raucous, and so Justice James Omotosho ordered him removed from the court. And so the judgment was passed in the absence of Nnamdi Kanu, and he was pronounced guilty on all the 7 counts which the prosecution brought before his lordship. And at the end of the judgment, prosecution counsel Awomolo, Adegboyega Awomolo, drew the attention of Justice Omotosho to the punishments ascribed to each charge and requested his lordship to ensure that Nnamdi Kanu was sentenced to death. At this point, after listening to Awomolo SAN, Justice James Omotosho took a break and returned to the court at around 4 o'clock this evening. And in a very lengthy judgment, he justified the position of the court on each count and found Nnamdi Kanu guilty on every count brought before the court. Now, I must add here that his lordship came to his conclusion based purely on the presentations made by the prosecution. There was no contrary presentation offered his lordship. In other words, Nnamdi Kanu did not enter any defense. So whatever the prosecution offered the court was what the court used to come to its conclusion on each case, on each charge today. Now, after the case, the prosecution counsel told the journalists that justice had been served and that those who were injured, who were killed, who suffered inconveniences, economies that were injured in the course of Nnamdi Kanu's activities had received justice. And he made a very strong statement that by the judgment of his lordship today, the Eastern Security Network, which he said was the military wing of the indigenous people of Biafra, which Nnamdi Kanu leads, had been given a death sentence. However, the defense counsel, which incidentally did not make any plea after the judgment had been read, addressed the media also and said that we are going to appeal the case before the Court of Appeal. And Nnamdi Kanu's counsel, who was not properly dressed in court today, and who said clearly to his lordship that he couldn't make any plea on behalf of his client because he was not properly dressed to appear before the court, then addressed the press and said the judgment of the court had no basis in law or in fact. And issues raised by Nnamdi Kanu himself, he raised again. That how can a person be found guilty not for an act, not what he did, but for words, what he said. And what he said is used as a basis to find him guilty of terrorism. I think Nnamdi Kanu never killed anybody. He never did any act that took anybody's life. He never had a gun in his hands. And for words he said, he was to be sentenced to life in prison, and not for an act he committed. And therefore that they were heading to the appeal court. And his last pronouncement was that the case cannot stand. So we watch what happened subsequently. Awomolo, senior advocate of Nigeria, requested his lordship, James Omotosho, to be sure that Nnamdi Kanu was kept in a correctional center with maximum security. And let me quote Adegboyega Awomolo. He said, Nnamdi Kanu has friends and has many enemies. And nobody knows where his enemies could strike or come after him. And therefore, there was need for the Nigerian state to safeguard his life. And therefore, he should be kept in the maximum prison anywhere in Nigeria. That was the plea of Adegboyega Awomolo, senior advocate of Nigeria, to Justice James Omotosho. And he said he could be kept in any prison, in any correctional center, anywhere in Nigeria, that can provide maximum security.
Thank you very much.
That was the outing this Thursday.
Thank you very much, Wabeze Njoku, for that update. We would keep our eyes open and our ears open to ensure that we follow the trend, not just the appeal, responses or reactions to what has happened today. Thank you again for coming on to The global news on Signature TV.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to other stories now. The ENUGU State Ministry of Works and Infrastructure and the ENUGU Capital Territory Development Authority have directed mechanics, artisans, traders, and other persons whose vehicles and workstations are abandoned on roadsides to remove them within 5 days. In a joint statement that issued in ENUGU, the two organizations explained that broken down vehicles, makeshift mechanic workstations, and roadside activities that pollute or damage the road and obstruct traffic are strictly prohibited. The statement frowned at the use of public roads for trading, long-term parking, mechanical repairs, oil changing, and other activities, which it said weaken the asphalt, damage the road structure, obstruct the free flow of traffic, and endanger other road users. He noted that the presence of such abandoned vehicles and unauthorized roadside activities has also created avoidable traffic bottlenecks, environmental hazards, and serious safety risk across the state. According to the statement, an effective and coordinated enforcement operation will commence from Tuesday, 25th November 2025, during which all abandoned, obstructive, and improperly stationed vehicles were removed from the roads. It added that sanctions shall be imposed on violators, which may include fines, towing, and recovery fees, and prosecution in accordance with the relevant laws of Enugu State. The Federal Capital Territory Administration will commence enforcement actions on defaulters of ground rent payment and land use change conversion fees, as well as right of occupancy and certificate of occupancy bills next week. Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media to the FCT Minister Larry Olayinka made this known in a statement on Thursday. Consequently, the FCTA would from Wednesday, November 26, 2025, commence enforcement actions on defaulters of ground rent payment and land use change conversion fees, as well as right of occupancy and certificate of occupancy bills. Semen said enforcement would also include all those who purchase property from other people but are yet to register their interest by obtaining the mandatory minister's consent and registering their deeds of assignment. Kwara State government has directed the closure of schools across 4 local government areas amid escalating insecurity in the state. A statement from the State Ministry of Education and Human Capital Development said the action follows concerns over fresh security threats in the Kwara South area of the state. The statement, which was made available to teachers, assured school heads and teachers that further directives will be communicated as the situation evolves. Kwara State Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak had announced plans to seek the establishment of a forward operating base of a Nigerian army and a mobile police squadron in Eruku, Ekiti local government area, following Tuesday night's deadly bandit attack on a church in the community, which left 3 worshippers dead and over 35 abducted. The governor, who visited Eruku for an on-the-spot assessment, disclosed that he had spoken with the General Officer Commanding 2 Division and Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetukun on the urgent security upgrade needed in the crisis-hit area. The federal government is blaming the renewed terror attacks, including the abduction of schoolgirls in Kebbi and the assault on worshippers in Eruku, Kwara State, on recent remarks by the United States. Secretary to the Government of the Federation George Akume said Trump's post alleging Christian genocide in Nigeria and threatening to deploy U.S. troops had inadvertently emboldened opportunistic violent groups who are now seeking to justify attacks on soft targets. In a statement he issued in Abuja, Akume claims that insurgency networks had previously been significantly weakened and reduced to isolated banditry before the statement, insisting that some groups were now attempting to leverage those remarks to gain visibility. Akume reaffirmed the government's position that Nigeria does not require foreign troops, noting that the Nigerian armed forces have reclaimed territories and degraded Boko Haram and ISWAP structures. He said the government rejects claims describing the conflict as a Christian genocide, stating that verified evidence shows that insurgents and criminal groups have attacked both churches and mosques, killing Muslims and Christians. The federal government says it has placed troops on the highest ever red alert and directed them to rescue the 24 abducted schoolgirls in Kebbi immediately. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris told a news conference that the nation's security forces are deployed to actively pursue and eliminate terrorists, bandits and criminal elements wherever they may be in Nigeria. He said the president last night got more briefing on the situation in the country, including that from the Vice President Kashim Shettima, who returned to Abuja after his visit to Kebbi State. Idris assured Nigerians that the rescue of the abducted schoolgirls remains an urgent national priority. The minister reiterated that the federal government categorically refutes any sectarian interpretation of the country's security challenges. Up ahead, no progress made to address our demands. Strike continues. NARD. FG6 Chinese assistance to train engineers acquire modern technology. Details of these and more after the break.
We, the family of late Mazi Edmondo Koronkwakba of Imamambo in Ogu local government area of Enugu State, announce the painful death of our beloved brother, husband, father, and uncle, Dr. Polycarp Obiora Akpa, Associate Professor, Veterinary Medicine, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, aged 53. Burial arrangement, Thursday, 20th November 2025, 6 p.m. Vigil Mass at St. John's Catholic Church, Mbogo, Friday, 21st of November 2025, 7:30 a.m. Body leaves University of Nigeria Enugu Campus, Department of Morbid Anatomy, to his residence at Sekus Layout, Transekulu, Enugu, 9 a.m. Body arrives at his family compound, Oluokwe, Imamambo, for lying in state, 11 a.m. Requiem Mass at St. John's Catholic Church, Mbogo, 12:30 p.m. Interment at his family compound, Oluokwe, Imamambo, 1 p.m. Reception follows immediately after interment at St. John's Catholic Church, Mbogo, Saturday, 22nd of November 2025. Reception and condolence visits continue. Sunday, 23rd November 2025, 9 a.m. Thanksgiving Mass at St. John's Catholic Church, Mbogo. Announcer, Chief Sir Nze Lawrence Akpa for the family.
Women under the umbrella of Voices for Inclusion and Equity for Women have condemned the abduction of 25 schoolgirls from Government Girls Comprehensive Senior Secondary School, MAGA, in Danko Wasago local government area of Kebbi State. In a statement, the group described the attack as a failure of leadership and another blow to the nation's conscience. It said the incident highlights the government's continued inability to secure schools, noting that despite past tragedies in Chibok, Dapchi, and Jambenge, schools across northern Nigeria remain exposed to attacks. The organization warns that recurring kidnappings raise questions about the state's commitment to protecting girls who already face social and economic disadvantages, and said the latest attack further reflects the failure of the Safe Schools initiative. The group demanded an intelligence-driven rescue operation and daily public updates on efforts to free the victims, urging authorities to avoid the slow responses that have trailed previous mass abductions. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) wants the federal government to do everything possible to secure the nation and its citizens from incessant attacks and killings. Reacting to the recent abduction of students in Kebbi State, the NLC President Joe Ajero expressed sadness at the incident, noting that the bogus amount spent by the government in fighting insecurity has not produced the desired result. The NLC President, who expressed solidarity with the students, their parents, people and government, noted that Kebbi State is among the few states in the Federation where salaries, pensions and other social interventions are regularly done. He also stated that apart from the remarkable infrastructure development that has been recorded almost effortlessly, the state is reputed to have taken proactive security measures in light of its expansive land mass and recorded other strides intended to better the lives of its citizens. Ajero, while charging the federal government to reflect deeply and do more as a sole custodian of the armed forces and majority holder of the country's resources, urged citizens to rise as a nation and as a people to confront the evil before it consumes everyone. The presidential candidate of Labour Party in 2023 elections, Peter Obi, is accusing President Bola Tinubu and the ruling All Progressive Congress of prioritizing politics over governance. In a post on its verified X handle, it will be noted that the ruling party is more interested in fuel internal conflicts within opposition parties to gain undue advantage in political space than giving attention to the task of protecting the life and property of Nigerians. Obi who noted that there was outrage when President Trump a few weeks ago described the country as now disgraced and wondered if this could honestly be disputed today, with series of abductions and deaths, including that of a general within a week. Said that rather than uniting in this critical moment, the leaders are consumed by internal wrangling, party squabbles and distractions. The former Anambra governor maintained that what is happening at the PDP, the Labour Party, SDP and other political formations were deliberately orchestrated by a government that should be embracing everyone to unite in this troubling period, recalling what happened during similar circumstances during the Umaru Musa Yar'Adua era when no party was undermined. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has described as misleading and inaccurate claims by the Federal Ministry of Labour that sustained progress has been made in addressing the union's demands. In a statement on Thursday, NARD expressed disappointment at a press release circulated by the Labour Ministry officials on November 19, which suggested that a high percentage of the doctors' grievances has been resolved. According to NARD, the ministry's accounts did not reflect the reality of its negotiations with the government or the conditions that led to the ongoing nationwide strike. Said that a detailed review conducted during its extraordinary National Executive Council NEC meeting on November 17 showed that not a single one of its 19 core demands had been fully met, despite the ministry's contrary claims. The doctors challenged the ministry's assertion that payment of a 25%, 35% commerce review and a 2024 accruement account allowances had commenced up to December 2024. They noted that none of its members across the country had received such payments, adding that statements about reconciling omissions amounted to acknowledgements of unresolved problems. NARD also criticized the ministry's statement that issues such as specialist allowances and arrears owed to doctors in federal institutions, including Federal Teaching Hospital Lokoja, FMCOO, and the University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital were being compiled for submission to the Budget Office. The Minister of State for Works, Mohammed Goronyo, has expressed the federal government's desire to build an existing cordial relationship with the People's Republic of China in improving its road infrastructure and enhancing the capacity of engineers to deal with modern challenges. Goronyo said this at a meeting with a high-power delegation from CGGC Global PLC in his office in Abuja on Thursday. Minister stated the ministry's commitment to strengthen Nigeria's road infrastructure through enhanced technical capacity, modern engineering practices, and global best practice solutions. Response Vice President of CGGC, Hee Hong-jung, who led the delegation, expressed the company's strong interest in contributing to Nigeria's infrastructure development, requested direct access to project opportunities though he expressed reservations about participating through the public-private partnership framework, which remains the officially approved and transparent process for government contract acquisition. The House of Representatives is to interface with the leadership of the Senate over the police pension scheme. The House made a resolution after it passed a bill to exempt police personnel from the contributory pension scheme.
The resolution followed a motion of public importance raised by Jesse Onuakalusi, member representing Oshodi Isolo Federal Constituency of Lagos State. Raising the motion, Onuakalusi expressed deep concern regarding the prolonged presence of retired police personnel who have been staging a protest at the main entrance gate at the National Assembly complex for nearly 2 months.
The House is concerned that at this moment, scores of retired police officers and men have been occupying the entrance of the National Assembly for nearly 2 months, sleeping in the open and pleading for attention, yet remain unattended to, a situation that brings embarrassment to the nation and call for urgent parliamentary intervention. The House is concerned that the morale of serving police personnel have been adversely affected by the plight of retired colleagues that is posing a serious threat to the effective policing and internal security delivery of Nigeria. The House recognized that similar reforms have been successfully implemented for the armed forces, customs services, and intelligence agencies, making their case different from the Nigerian police, who are our internal security officers.
Lawmakers, while debating the motion, said they are particularly troubled by the undignified plight of the retired personnel. This, they said, could significantly impact the morale of officers currently serving in the Nigerian police force.
There was a bill that was to amend the Pension Reform Act, which was brought and considered a very, very, very important bill. But quite unfortunately, there is a very huge resistance also from the establishment. And I'm talking about the Pension Commission and some other vested interests. And I continue to ask if there's anything that the Pension Commission and the established interest will seek to lose if members of the Nigerian police force are allowed to have a pension scheme that does not tie them exclusively to contribution. Because as it were now, a police officer who resigns after 30-35 years in service may as well be earning as low as 30,000-40,000 naira every month.
I think what I'm urging the leadership to do is to liaise with the Senate so that they can expedite action on it, to concur it so that it can be sent to the President for assent. Because Nigerian police are doing their best and we need to appreciate them and support them.
Similarly, the Chairman House Committee on Police Affairs, Maki Yaliman, and the Committee on Pension, Hussein Jalu, have assured the protesting retired police officers that their demands have been addressed. Addressing journalists after plenary, both chairmen noted that their demands and agitations were addressed in the bill, waiting concurrence from the Senate.
We look into the bill, we amend it, it passed first reading, second reading, third reading. We engage all the stakeholders on their prayers, and the outcome is fruitful. And we package our submission, we lay it before the House, the leadership passed the resolution to the Chairman Rules and Business, and they made a memo on 28th of October of this year, 2025. Send it to the Senate for further parliamentarian activities there.
We have met all their demands, first reading, second reading, and close by close consideration of the third reading has been done and transmitted to the Senate. This is the bill.
The bill, when passed by the National Assembly, is expected to address issues like payment delays and administrative bottlenecks in the current police pension system.
Next is business news.
The Federation Account Allocation Committee has shed 2.094 trillion naira from October 2025 revenue among the federal government, 36 states, and 774 local government councils, according to a recent report. The revenue pool consisted of statutory earnings, value-added tax collections, and receipts from the electronic money transfer levy. From the allocation, the federal government received over 758 billion naira, states received about 689 billion naira, while local councils got more than 505 billion naira. Oil-producing states also benefited from the 13% derivation revenue, receiving over 141 billion naira. FAAC noted that several revenue lines, including companies' income tax, capital gains tax, and customs duties, recorded increases during the month. However, value-added tax and some levies saw slight declines. Officials say the higher revenue distribution is expected to give states and local councils additional fiscal room for preserving development needs. Nigeria's newly enacted fiscal reform law has officially brought virtual currencies under the country's tax system. Chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, announced that digital assets, including cryptocurrencies, will now be taxable under the revised law. Oyedele clarified that while gains from crypto transactions will be taxed, capital market gains remain exempt to encourage young people to invest in regulated financial markets. He noted that misinformation about tax laws has discouraged participation, with many Nigerians wrongly assuming a 30% charge on capital market investments. The reform law also provides a dedicated reserve to ensure taxpayers receive refunds when eligible, a measure aimed at improving trust in the tax system. To boost nationwide awareness, the committee is partnering with the National Orientation Agency to translate the new tax law into major Nigerian languages, making it easier for citizens to understand their obligations under the updated system. The Federal Capital Territory Administration will begin enforcement actions on November 26th against defaulters owing ground rent, land use conversion fees, and charges linked to rights and certificates of occupancy. According to the FCT authorities, the enforcement will also target individuals who have bought properties without obtaining ministerial consent or registering their deeds as required by law. The administration had earlier given several grace periods to allow affected property owners to settle their outstanding payments. The extension for ground rent expired in June, while the final extension for land use conversion ends on November 24th. Officials warn that failure to comply after enforcement begins could attract heavy penalties as the FCTA moves to improve revenue collection and ensure proper land administration practices across the capital. First Bank Nigeria has defended its management of the 200 billion naira MSME Intervention Fund, emphasizing that the loans play a critical role in supporting small businesses across the country. The fund, provided under a presidential initiative, offers micro, small, and medium enterprises access to single-digit interest loans. The bank stated that its participation aligns with its long-standing objective of boosting entrepreneurship and strengthening the real sector. First Bank highlighted that in previous years, it had already disbursed hundreds of billions of naira to SMEs, reinforcing its commitment to national economic growth. The intervention fund, implemented through the Bank of Industry, is designed to cushion the impact of economic pressures on local businesses and promote job creation. Analysts say the initiative is expected to help stabilize the SME ecosystem and support inclusive development nationwide. And that's business news on Global News. In Abuja, I am Tomsinime Natus.
Russian President Vladimir Putin does not use artificial intelligence tools himself, but officials who work for him do, the Kremlin said on Thursday. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov added that the Kremlin used AI tools to help sort through citizens' questions during Putin's annual questions and answer event.
The president himself does not use AI in his daily work. AI is used to support the president's activities, including, as it was said yesterday, for preparing a televised phone-in with people and for processing millions of the citizens' messages and questions for it. AI is developing and evolving, becoming more advanced, and with every passing year it lets us process our citizens' requests more effectively and fully. So it is used this way.
Putin on Wednesday called for a national task force to coordinate Russia's work on homegrown generative artificial intelligence models, which he said were vital to preserving Russian sovereignty. Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjarto on Thursday said the European Union should stop sending money to the European government after corruption reports.
So if Brussels and the leadership here in Brussels was normal, then they have immediately should have stopped. the payments to Ukraine, and they immediately should have demanded for a financial clearance. We have to know what for the money of the European taxpayers was spent in Ukraine. The whole global media circulates the news about the operation of this corrupt system, of this war mafia. And I have to tell you, this is the most moderate expression that I'm going to use now. It's crazy.
There can be no peace without Ukraine, and Europe has to be at the table. And like I said, there are a lot of talks about different talks. And at the same time, Sweden only has 2 points in their plan. So it is support Ukraine and increase the pressure on Russia. And that is what we should focus on in order to be able to change the equation so that Russia will want to come to the table, because it's quite obvious that Russia is not willing to have serious peace talks.
We commend peace efforts, but Europe is the main pair, the main supporter of Ukraine, and it's of course Europe's security that's at stake. So we expect to be consulted.
So Ukrainian ministers and Snart and a major corruption probe were fired on Wednesday by Parliament, which has also called for more sweeping measures to restore faith in the country's leadership. Investigation into an alleged $100 million plot to control contracting at the State Nuclear Agency has stirred fresh anger at pervasive grabs, including in President Volodymyr Zelensky's inner circle. Speaking in Brussels, Sijato added the outlook is not positive for Ukraine at the moment. Also speaking as they arrived to the meeting, Swedish Foreign Minister Maria Stenegard and Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski both said any Ukraine peace plan must involve the European Union. Sports is next.
Nigeria Super Eagles may yet find themselves back on the global football map after reports emerged that Russia is pushing forward with plans for a parallel tournament during the 2026 FIFA World Cup. According to World Soccer Talk, the tournament is designed exclusively for nations that failed to qualify for the World Cup to be co-hosted by the United States, Canada and Mexico. The idea forms part of the Russian Football Union's attempt to regain feasibility following its exclusion from FIFA and UEFA competitions since 2022. And significantly for Nigeria, the Super Eagles are named among the nations being considered. The Super Falcons goalkeeper clinched the award of the CAF Awards ceremony on Wednesday night, making it 3 wins in 3 years. 2023, 2024 and now 2025. Nigeria's Chiamaka Nnadozie was crowned the 2025 CAF Women's Goalkeeper of the Year, completing a remarkable hat-trick of titles and strengthening her stature as the most dominant shot stopper in African Women's Football Club. Ashraf Hakimi has been named as the African Footballer of the Year for 2025, beating Mohamed Salah and Victor Osimhen to the prestigious award. The Paris Saint-Germain and Morocco right-back took home the top prize from the latest CAF Award ceremony that took place at Mohammed Polytechnic University in the Moroccan capital of Rabat on Wednesday night.
It's really an honor for me to be here today. It's a real pride for me to win this prestigious trophy in the football world, in the African football world, precisely. This trophy is not just for me, it's for all the Africans, the strong men and women that have dreams in Africa. And, you know, for those that always believed in me from when I was a kid, even up until now that I've become this player that I am today, I would like to thank all of these people. I would like to thank His Majesty King Mohammed VI for providing us with all the different sporting infrastructure and facilities.
Hakimi scooped the biggest individual honor in African football following a remarkable year in which he played a key role in dominant PSG, finally winning the Champions League for the first time. The 27-year-old was also an instrumental player for the Morocco Shock semi-finalist in Qatar in 2022, as they became the first African team to qualify for next summer's World Cup finals. In North America back in September, Hakimi won African Footballer of the Year for the first time, having finished second in back-to-back years behind Nigeria duo Ademola Lookman and Osimhen. In golf, three-time DP World Tour winner Victor Perez has become Lev Golf League's first new signing ahead of the 2026 season after electing to leave the PGA Tour. Perez won the 2019 Alfred Downhill Links Championship, 2022 Dutch Open and 2023 Abu Dhabi Championship, with the Frenchman securing dual membership on the PGA Tour and DP World Tour via his race to Dubai position that year. The 33-year-old has prioritized the PGA Tour the past 2 seasons, but was in danger of losing his card on the American circuit, setting 108th in the FedEx Cup standings heading into the RSM Classic, with Perez withdrawing from the final FedEx Cup full event ahead of his switch to Lev Golf. And in tennis, Roger Federer will become the first member of the Big Three of tennis to be inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Federer, 44, retired in 2022, having won 103 ATP level titles, second only to Jimmy Connors, 109 during the Open era. The Swiss great was the first man to win 20 Grand Slam singles titles, a total since surpassed by Big Three rivals Novak Djokovic, 24, and Rafael Nadal, 22. Federer, one of only 8 men to achieve a career Grand Slam, received the news at Swiss Tennis, where he played in his youth, as he was welcomed by some of the current 270 Hall of Fame members in a video call. That's Sport News on Signature TV. I am Christopher Lely.
And that's the news this hour. I am Barry Kumo Ado. Thank you very much for watching. Stay with us as Signature Evening opens up at top of the hour.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Signature TV, news in your pocket.
This is Diaspora 5, where we spotlight bold voices and African excellence across Europe and America. Big wins, big vibes, fired every week, just for you. Across Europe and America, a vibrant story is unfolding. From the boardrooms to the dance floors, from red carpet premieres to cultural festivals, Nigerians and Africans in the diaspora are making waves.
I am Ike Udechime. Join me as we highlight the voices and victories of Africans living in the diaspora.
Welcome to Diaspora 5, where home meets the world.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem. There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left, in all the accounts of Anambra State, 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on eVibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
I should try harder, so...
Okay, I don't know that one.
Outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on eVibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Tigiti Agorom, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Bright and early, as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day, we at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
Wyatt is overrated, and they even overrated themselves and went into CBT. They are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never had what they call CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature New Day, weekends. Newspaper review on Signature TV. We do not just review the headlines, we make the headlines relevant to our daily lives.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem. There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
We are local.
International communities observing just finished the
Where the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Signature Evening. Wow, amazing Thursday. Throwback Thursday, right? But in Nigeria right now, the throwback many people are experiencing now is the different insurgencies in different parts of the country. And it's a sad one. And this is my own way of telling you welcome to Signature Evening. My name is Christopher Lele.
I am Princess Kena Choma. Good to see you.
I am not supposed to laugh because I'm not really in an exciting mood. All through yesterday night, I was literally shedding tears, like I was crying.
Trust me.
If
you don't want to know.
If you go online, Oma,
you don't want
you see
to know.
online, you start to ask yourself, like, when did we even get here?
I mean, I moved from being outraged last night to shedding uncontrollable tears this morning. I don't think I've been broken like that in a while. But it is what it is, right?
Well, we'll go straight to what we have today. We've got a couple of things lined up. In the news, court sentences Nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment for terrorism.
KB school attack. We are tired of condolences. Want action, says Northern Women.
And Tinubu puts troops on highest ever red alert, Chief of Army Staff said.
Chief of Army Staff Shaibu announces recruitment of 24,000 soldiers.
Kyiv residents reject U.S. peace proposal. Doubt Zelensky would agree.
Then we have our interviews for the night. Then we have a fashionista. We have what's trending. We have our entertainment. And then we get into the crux of the matter. People's Forum. Yes, where we're calling, share our thoughts. And today I would really like us to, talk about something that just happened a few hours ago. I hope when the time comes, the number to call will be displayed on your screen. But in case you're just joining us, the number to call at that time is 081-4810-8254. 081-4810-8254. Now we'll get straight into the news updates.
All right, in the news, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has been sentenced to life imprisonment by Federal High Court in Abuja after being convicted on all 7 counts of terrorism filed against him. Delivering judgment in Kanu's trial, Justice James Omotosho described him as a terrorist whose actions have led to bloodshed and destabilization in the southeast. The judge emphasized that the prosecution presented credible and sufficient evidence to prove the case against Kanu, noting that Kanu failed to enter a defense, choosing instead to rest his case on the prosecution's evidence. Justice Omotosho sentenced him to life imprisonment on counts 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 of the 7-count charge in which he was prosecuted by the Department of State Services, while 20 years imprisonment on count 3 relating to the offense of belonging to a proscribed terrorist group. On count 7, bordering on his unlawful importation of a radio transmitter for the purpose of furthering the clandestine activities of Radio Biafra, which is not registered in Nigeria. The judge sentenced him to 5 years imprisonment without an option of fine. The judge, who noted that Kanu had been unruly all through the trial, said that law allowed the court to sentence him to death for the terrorism offenses, but that he, being a Christian, chose to be merciful to the defendants. The judge said the IPOB leader was a person who cannot be allowed to remain in the company of sane minds, while describing him as an international terrorist, insisting that Kanu's claim of being a freedom fighter could not excuse actions taken outside the bounds of the law.
He attacked bees and ants. People will like him. If you like, when they put him in Cameroon, if you like, when they put him in a Morocco, Nnamdi Kanu have followers everywhere. We don't do what is wrong. We hate nobody. We have not been against anybody in Nigeria. We have cohabited with everybody in Nigeria peacefully, peaceably. There is no tribe that is treated the way we are treated. This nonsense got to stop. If they are no more interested in the union, we can talk peacefully. We don't have to kill ourselves. We have intermarried. We have Yoruba wives and in-laws. We have Hausa in-laws. We can talk peacefully. They must not continue pushing this narrative. When it comes to an Igbo man, they just keep the law.
Northern women under the umbrella of Voices for Inclusion and Equity for Women, VIEW, have condemned the abduction of 25 schoolgirls from Government Girls Comprehensive Senior Secondary School, MAGA, in Danko Wasago local government area of Kebbi State. In a statement, the group described the attack as a failure of leadership and another blow to the nation's conscience. It said the incident highlights the government's continued inability to secure schools, noting that despite past tragedies in Chibok, Dapchi and Jangebe schools across northern Nigeria remain exposed to attacks. The organization warned that recurring kidnappings raised questions about the state's commitment to protecting girls who already face social and economic disadvantages, and said the latest attack further reflects the failures of the Safe School initiative. The group demanded an intelligence-driven rescue operation and daily public updates on efforts to free the victims, urging authorities to avoid the slow responses that have trailed previous mass abductions. The federal government says it has placed troops on the highest ever red alert and directed them to rescue the 24 abducted schoolgirls in Kebbi immediately. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, told a news conference that the nation's security forces had deployed to actively pursue and eliminate terrorists, bandits, and criminal elements wherever they may be in Nigeria. He said the president last night got more briefing on the situation in the country, including that from Vice President Kashim Shettima, who returned to Abuja after his visit to Kebbi State. Idris assured Nigerians that the rescue of the abducted schoolgirls remains an urgent national priority. The minister reiterated that the federal government categorically refutes any sectarian interpretation of the country's security challenges. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waide Shaibu, has announced plans to recruit and train 24,000 soldiers. General Shaibu revealed the plan on Wednesday during an operational visit to the 1 Division of the Nigerian Army in Kaduna, where he addressed officers ranging from second lieutenant to lieutenant colonels. He said the initiative is part of the Army strategy to enhance its readiness and expand manpower for developments across the country. According to him, 3 new training facilities approved by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will train 12,000 soldiers within 6 months, with the capacity to double the figure to 24,000 if 2 streams are run simultaneously. Shaibu noted that the facilities are strategically located to produce recruits equipped with modern warfare skills, tactical knowledge, and improved weapon handling. He added that the recruits will be trained in basic tactics, combat operations, and leadership principles to strengthen the Army's professional standards. The Corps reiterated the Army's commitment to the soldier-first concept, promising improved welfare and support systems for both new and existing personnel. He urged senior officers to mentor incoming recruits to sustain discipline, core values, and operational excellence. Ukrainians in Kyiv on Thursday dismissed a reported U.S. plan to end the war with Russia that would require Kyiv to give up territory and cut its armed forces. Washington has signaled to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky that Kyiv must accept a U.S.-drafted framework to end the nearly 4-year-old war, sources told reporters on Wednesday. The sources, who asked not to be identified because of the sensitivity of the matter, said the proposals included cutting the size of the Ukraine's armed forces, among other things. Washington wants Kyiv to accept the main points, they said. Some Kyiv residents said the proposed U.S. peace plan was unacceptable for Ukraine and would not be supported by society or the military, adding that Zelensky was unlikely to sign such an agreement.
I do not consider these conditions acceptable, and I do not think that even if such an agreement is conditionally reached at the level of heads of state, that it will be accepted by the people, by the military, and those who have already given and are giving a lot for this. I do not think that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will sign any peace agreements on such terms for several reasons. First, he is populist enough not to do this. He knows that this will be a very unpopular thing in Ukraine. And second, he is, despite everything, patriotic enough to not do such things.
I do not know if Zelensky will agree to such terms. I hope not. Of course, these conditions are not acceptable for Ukraine. I believe that Ukraine should return to the borders of 1991 at a minimum. Of course, we need to finish off the aggressor and pressure him, because I am sure that if we give them any concessions now, they will return in any way, as was the case in Chechnya.
And that's it on the In the News segment, where we took a look at what happened today and also what's trending. Of course, we'll come back to discuss that of Nnamdi Kanu. I believe many of you would like to hear 1 or 2 regarding that. But till then, let's take a look at Fashionista that will give it to Oma.
Alright, for lovers of fashion, this one is for you. Here's a countdown of African countries with the best street style. But remember our People's Forum segments and call the number displayed on your screen to join the conversation. The number is 08148108254. Fashionista coming up next. Welcome to Fashionista. Ever heard of the phrase street style? Street style is a 15 to 18-year-old thing that is now coming of age. It's a specific fashion style originating from British fashion culture. With the advancement of street style, it has now become a core part of everyday culture. It has become a global trend, an unbelievably viral, instant, and addictive aspect of fashion that has changed the way fashion is made. Africa is one of the unique continents when it comes to fashion. It is filled with numerous tribes, each with its distinct sense of style, creativity, and tastes. Street style is one of those influences which are gaining ground in the African continent, especially among its teeming youths. Here are the first top 5 African cities popular for their street style. First is Johannesburg, South Africa. Johannesburg is one of the most popular cities in South Africa during its Fashion Week. The runways showcase the city's best designers who reveal their forecasts for the season's trends to international media, audience, and fashion wholesale buyers. One thing to always remember is that the culture and the continent has no shortage of style, from sunflower-hued suspenders to beautiful colored palazzo pants. South African designer Kana Majopelo is the brains behind DOCC, Dreams of Conceptual Content, a street style heavily influenced by construction work. Mojapelo has collaborated with Nike, and his 2017 staff-only collection sold out rapidly. Next is Lagos, Nigeria. The fashion sense in Lagos is booming. Since the launch of Lagos Fashion Week in 2011, the city's fashion industry has quickly grown to gain a reputation as Africa's sartorial capital. This major city of over 20 million people, by some estimates, is the largest commercial hub in Nigeria. Lagos has become a fashion hub for West Africa and indeed for the entire African continent. In recent years, the successes of the Lagos fashion scene have led to the inevitable introduction of significant events such as the Nigerian Fashion Week, African Fashion Week, and the MTN Lagos Fashion and Design Week. MTN, of course, is largest African telecom operator, and one of the greatest advantages of fashion partnership is its reach. Take 2. Style in Lagos is colorful, fun, and diverse. Lagosians love to stand out and push boundaries with their clothing choices, adopting the attitude that the bigger the statement, the better. Next is Accra, Ghana. Recently, there's been a real renaissance of artistic and creative expression in Accra. Ghanaian entrepreneur Kula Perry has big plans for his brand, Fear No Man. Launched a few years ago, it is set to take over the urban African fashion industry with its presence in 29 countries. It owes its success to social media marketing and branding. With a powerful logo that represents African heritage, the struggles we endure to achieve our dreams and meditation, the brand is speaking to all sorts of consumers. Next is Nairobi, Kenya. Major African cities are gradually becoming internationally influential on the fashion scene. As far as street style fashion is concerned, Nairobi has always been known as the new New York of Africa. Many Kenya-based designers have gained international recognition, like women's wear brands. Annual fashion events such as Festival for African Fashion and Arts, FAFA, and Swahili Fashion Week are also held, thereby giving Nairobi more international recognition. And lastly, we have Niamey, Niger. Niamey is the capital and most populated city in Niger. The advance in African fashion is certainly not lost on Niamey. Niamey has played host several times for the International Festival of African Fashion, FIMA. This event is a means to unite African fashion and culture and to promote the economic and social development of the continent. All manner of arts, crafts, and jewelry are promoted at this time. During the festival, awards are given for the best young stylist and top model. Sidi Ahmed Said Denali, founder of the International Festival of African Fashion, has been working hard to promote African fashion around the world through his company. FIMA takes place every 2 years in Niger and brings in more than 2,000 attendees who check out emerging talents in African street style fashion and lesser known African enterprises. And that's it on today's episode of Fashionista. All right, now coming up next is entertainment story.
Prominent gospel singer Nathaniel Bassey and Pastor Jerry Eze have called for urgent action against rising insecurity in Nigeria, urging the government and security agencies to tackle terrorism, banditry, and kidnappings. Nathaniel Bassey also expressed concern over the nation's security situation, stressing the need for accountability and decisive action. He urged the government, armed forces, intelligence agencies, and citizens to unite in confronting criminals. The call for the religious leaders follows recent violent incidents across the country, including the attack on the Christ Apostolic Church parish in ENUGU, Kwara State, where suspected bandits killed at least 2 people, and the abduction of 25 students from Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School Magai in Kebbi State, during which a staff member was killed. The attack have drawn widespread condemnation with other prominent figures in the entertainment industry, including actors and comedians, also urging the government to take immediate steps to address the insecurity. Popular Nigerian actress Bukola Aruba has tackled the Kwara State First Lady Olufolake Abdulrazak over her stance on the recent church attack in the state. A branch of Christ Apostolic Church, CAC, was attacked by terrorists during a church program that was streamed live on Tuesday, November 18, 2025, at Eruku local government area of Kwara State. 3 people were reported dead, with an unconfirmed number of worshippers abducted alongside the pastor. Reacting to the tragic news in a video shared on her Instagram page on Wednesday evening, the actress tackled the Kwara State First Lady Olufolake Abdulrazak for tagging the incident an attempted attack despite the live video. Contradicting the First Lady's claim, the actress, who is a native of Eruku community, stated that 3 of her family members were abducted and still with their abductors. In a video shared on her Instagram page to address the First Lady, Bukola Aruba accused her of downplaying the seriousness of the event, insisting that the attack was deadly and carried out successfully by the terrorists. Famous Nigerian musician Davido has reacted to the abduction of secondary school girls in Kebbi State and the church attack in Kwara State. Reacting to the frightening attack in a statement shared on X, Davido said that no family deserves the pain of death. Expressing concern over the security situation in Nigeria, the singer stated that acts of violence must never become a norm in the country. Popular social media activist Martins Vincent Ose, widely known as Very Dark Man, has publicly condemned President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in a forceful video posted on his Instagram account. His remarks come amid mounting national outrage over a deadly church attack in Kwara State and the recent abduction of schoolgirls in Kebbi State. In the video, Very Dark Man stages a street protest alongside several men holding banners, one of which read, "Is the president still alive?" Another demands, "Bring back the abducted girls," and yet another laments, "Our nation is bleeding." Very Dark Man questions how assailants obtained assault rifles used in the church attack, challenging the government's capacity to protect citizens. Addressing young Nigerians directly, Very Dark Man urged them to defend themselves, suggesting that the government may be unable to guarantee their safety. His bold remarks have sparked a broader conversation as celebrity voices such as Fowles and Mr. Macaroni have echoed his calls for government accountability. And that's the entertainment news. Queenette Nwokonta, Signature TV News.
All right, for the first time, we'll be delving into a little bit of sports report. Coming up next is our sports report.
Nigeria Super Eagles may yet find themselves back on the global football map after reports emerged that Russia is pushing forward with plans for a parallel tournament during the 2026 FIFA World Cup. According to World Soccer Talk, the tournament is designed exclusively for nations that failed to qualify for the World Cup to be co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The idea forms part of the Russian Football Union's attempt to regain feasibility following its exclusion from FIFA and UEFA competitions since 2022. And significantly for Nigeria, the Super Eagles are named among the nations being considered. The Super Falcons goalkeeper clinched the award of the CAF Awards ceremony on Wednesday night, making it 3 wins in 3 years 2023, 2024, and now 2025. Nigeria's Chiamaka Nnadozie was crowned the 2025 CAF Women's Goalkeeper of the Year, completing a remarkable hat-trick of titles and strengthening her stature as the most dominant shot stopper in African Women's Football Club. Ashraf Hakimi has been named as the African Footballer of the Year for 2025, beating Mohamed Salah and Victor Osimhen to the prestigious award. The Paris Saint-Germain and Morocco right-back took home the top prize from the latest CAF award ceremony that took place at Mohammed Polytechnic University in the Moroccan capital of Rabat on Wednesday night.
It's really an honor for me to be here today. It's a real pride for me to win this prestigious trophy in the football world, in the African football world, precisely. This trophy is not just for me, it's for all the Africans, the strong men and women that have dreams in Africa. And, you know, for those that always believed in me from when I was a kid, even up until now that I've become this player that I am today, I would like to thank all of these people. I would like to thank His Majesty King Mohammed VI for providing us with all the different sporting infrastructure and facilities.
Hakimi scooped the biggest individual honor in African football following a remarkable year in which he played a key role in dominant PSG, finally winning the Champions League for the first time. The 27-year-old was also an instrumental player for the Morocco Shock semi-finalist in Qatar in 2022, as they became the first African team to qualify for next summer's World Cup finals. In North America back in September, Hakimi won African Footballer of the Year for the first time, having finished second in back-to-back years behind Nigeria duo Ademola Lookman and Osimhen. In golf, three-time DP World Tour winner Victor Perez has become Lev Golf League's first new signing ahead of the 2026 season after electing to leave the PGA Tour. Perez won the 2019 Alfred Downhill Links Championship, 2022 Dutch Open, and 2023 Abu Dhabi Championship, with the Frenchman securing dual membership on the PGA Tour and DP World Tour via his race to Dubai position that year. The 33-year-old has prioritized the PGA Tour the past two seasons, but was in danger of losing his card on the American circuit, setting 108th in the FedEx Cup standings heading into the RSM Classic, with Perez withdrawing from the final FedEx Cup full event ahead of his switch to Lev Golf. And in tennis, Roger Federer will become the first member of the Big Three of tennis to be inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Federer, 44, retired in 2022, having won 103 ATP level titles, second only to Jimmy Connors, 109, during the Open era. The Swiss great was the first man to win 20 Grand Slam singles titles, a total since surpassed by Big Three rivals Novak Djokovic, 24, and Rafael Nadal, 22. Federer, one of only 8 men to achieve a career Grand Slam, received the news at Swiss Tennis, where he played in his youth, as he was welcomed by some of the current 270 Hall of Fame members in a video call. That's Sport News on Signature TV. I am Christopher Lely.
You're welcome back. Now we'll be getting into our first conversation for tonight, but before that we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
We are local.
The international community is observing every...
Just finish the game. Why the main market is in chaos. People are...
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye.
Aye. We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
All right. Now, for our first conversation for tonight, we'll be diving into Nigeria's rapidly evolving digital landscape, a space where artificial intelligence, the creative arts, biotechnology, and blockchain are no longer just buzzwords, but powerful tools reshaping economies, industries, and opportunities. As the world shifts into a new era of innovation, one question remains crucial in the mind of Nigerians. How can Nigerian youths, take advantage of these emerging technologies, not just to survive, but to lead? Our guest tonight brings insights from the front lines of tech innovation and youth development. He's here to help us understand where Nigeria stands, where the world is going, and how young people, you and I, can position ourselves for relevance in this changing digital age. Our guest is Engineer Nzube Chikwado Ndiokwelu. He's the founder of Beacon Smith Collective and the National Ambassador of Citra Nigeria. Good evening, Nzube.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Welcome. Nice to have you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so how did you get into tech? I mean, that's my first curious question. Have you always known you'd be a tech bro, or was it something you picked up along life?
I think, you know how they say necessity is the mother of all invention?
Yes.
It was something like that for me in my own situation. I actually was faced with a situation where I had to make a choice between a paid internship in civil engineering or actually a non-paid internship with industrial information technology with a tech company in ENUGU State here. And as of that period, I made the difficult choice of choosing the non-paid internship because I felt like the direction of technology was moving in the information technology, and you know, as much as having a paid internship in a civil construction site might have been suited to, you know, my financial needs as an engineer, I chose the road less taken, and from there it's been quite a journey.
Quite a journey.
So has it paid off, or is it paying off, or would it pay off? Before we get right into our conversation for tonight, because it will form a premise for the questions we might have. Has it paid off, or is it paying off in the long run? Is it worth your experience and training? Has it been worth it so far?
Well, sincerely speaking, I've actually had quite an adventurous career, if I may say, and I believe that unconventional path has actually really exposed me to quite a journey that you wouldn't necessarily even believe it. Accidentally kickstarted ENUGU Tech's scene by hosting the first ever festivals for Google developer groups in ENUGU State in 2015.
Impressive.
And this is the 10-year anniversary of the festivals and, you know, community we actually kickstarted in that moment. Okay. And as at that moment, we never really saw the future and saw 10 years from now and seeing that ENUGU's biggest tech community would be something that our efforts would actually help seed. And from there, actually delved into sports, organizing ENUGU's first Coal City Marathon, which was an international marathon. And from there went into the energy sector in oil and gas, and I'm back in tech right now. So just that singular decision that I wanted to, you know, focus on information technology right at the beginning of a new era, it equipped me with skills and techniques, you know, which enabled me, you know, stay relevant for years to come. And right now I'm currently in a phase where you could say I'm reinventing myself for the new revolution, which is the fourth industrial revolution, and there are emerging technologies coming out there. So I'm back to my roots again and actually, you know, learning and leading from the front again.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
With the way Nigeria is now, would you say, is it fair to say that Nigeria is becoming a, you know, consumer nation instead of creator of technology?
Well, unfortunately, it's something we're really locked into by nature of our, you know, the position within the tech, you know, industry. We're more of
users of products which we didn't actually contribute to the creation of them. So let's say if you take a look at robotics, we're not frontline leaders in humanoid robotics, or manufacturing the necessary chips, or actually producing rare earth metals which actually are required by these critical industries. Frontier models are not being trained or developed in Africa here. So we are more or less, using already developed technologies out there, and the job we have is to deepen our industry to the level where we then have a much more mature ecosystem, which then leads to us having such fruits as a result of the density of our ecosystem. So just like we all know, you must crawl before you run. So the challenge is we aim high, but we must also do the necessary work of deepening the quality and the depth of our ecosystem. The talents have to be here, and we basically can't always expect everyone to leave the Nigerian shores, looking for greener pastures out there, and expect that our best talents are actually going to leave Nigerian shores, and then those that remain are going to have the ability to compete at world level. So we must have such a large density that even if we have people migrating or immigrating for better opportunities, we still have an enormous pool of talent, still local and residents here, to the extent that you could now expect a future where those that left the Nigerian shores and then went to improve their craft and worked in different companies could come back in such a way that you can see knowledge transfer from those that are actually left the shores of Nigeria. So us being consumers, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. It's just the stage where we are, but like you say, we still have a way to catch up, and we can catch up.
You mentioned crawling. At this very stage, can we say Nigeria is crawling when it gets to do with technology, or we're still in bed sleeping?
There's a difference between when you say Nigerians and Nigeria. So
I was going to add
Nigerians are
Nigeria, not Nigerians.
Yeah, Nigerians are the frontier of these technologies.
There are nations, you know them for this.
Yeah.
Nigeria as a nation.
Okay.
Are we crawling, or we're still in bed?
You could say we're still crawling because we still need critical infrastructure. And that's the bedrock of every single thing, So when you look at the critical infrastructure for these emerging technologies, you take a look at energy. We still must have reliable energy, that's electricity, rolled out to every part of the country. You still also have to have reliable broadband. That's another critical infrastructure that you need. And then you need data centers. So right now, Nigeria is still in the process of constructing its first tier 3 data center, which is being done or undertaken by MTN. So we still have to, have this critical investments in critical infrastructure, which are what actually underpins or what is the fulcrum for this emerging technologies. So for us to leapfrog through certain iterations, we must, first of all, get our foundations, and then from that foundation, that's what you can then now expect the professionals to then build upon.
Now, speaking from the standpoint of a Nigerian youth, and then you said Nigeria is calling, do you think that Nigeria is entirely receptive to the idea of technology? I'm sure that in some sectors, tech is okay. We can make use of tech in this hospital, or maybe to generate or to build some things. Now, as a Nigerian who has gone out of his way to learn, you have friends who've traveled and may not want to come back because of the system. Do you think the reason why we are still crawling is because the system of Nigeria is not fully receptive to the takeover, quote unquote, of technology?
I think if I'm to rephrase or paraphrase your question in a shorter way, this deals with the adoption curve of technology across different sectors. So you might find that within certain sectors there's greater adoption in those sectors, and then in some sectors there's still a greater
barrier to adoption within those sectors. So there are some sectors where you basically expect Nigeria to really have a greater adoption. I mean, take a look at the telecommunications sector and the banking sector. You know, you could say that there's deeper penetration of technology within those sectors. And if you take a look at, let's say, the agricultural and the healthcare sector, like you mentioned, we still have a long way to go within those sectors with respect to adopting, you know, the state-of-the-art technologies to actually, you know, increase productivity and capture more gains within those sectors. So, sectors, I think it has to be something that you take a look at on sector by sector approach. There are barriers to adoption to certain areas, and there are some places where you may realize that there's greater resistance to adoption within those things. It could actually, you know, be a factor due to cultural factors, or, you know, sensitization factors, or let's say the infrastructure constraints. You know, so let's take a look at banking as a sector now. Banking has, you know, greater level of investments within, you know, critical core IT infrastructure. They actually pay a whole lot to have their core banking staffs, their core IT staffs, and they rely on mobile apps, which has to, you know, go hand in hand with the telecommunications sector. So as the telecommunications sector accelerates progress, you can have the banking sector, you know, deepen its services. So you have roll-up of ATM machines, automated teller machines, which rely on wireless networks or, you know, broadband networks to actually, you know, facilitate your transactions. So you realize that the banking sector could actually, you know, roll out greater innovations as a result of the fact that, okay, as the telecom sector accelerates, they are able to, you know, invest more within these technologies. Now, when you compare with different sectors, let's say agricultural sector and the healthcare sector, like we use an example, there are siloed, you know, units within those areas. So you tend to have private hospitals which may have a greater level of investment, and then you tend to see that they actually have broadband within that facility, and they make use of, you know, state-of-the-art technologies. And then when you move towards the governmental sectors, which are bigger infrastructure or healthcare systems, and, you know, you find that they struggle with rolling out such critical, let's say, IT supports within those places, because you have to, first of all, you know, take a look at the will of the government to see this as, you know, something that is going to require that level of investment, because it requires a huge level of investment. And more often than not, the government outsources, let's say, healthcare and is run as a business. It's not necessarily seen as is a basic right for every Nigerian that you must have access to healthcare or quality healthcare. So they actually provide funding to the hospitals, which is mostly for administrative purposes, and it may not be able to cover, you know, from things which they may, you know, put on the lower rank of, you know, critical items that are required. So you might actually go to a hospital and there's no reliable backup power. And if there's no reliable backup power, you're not going to prioritize having an internet facility or internet support system there, because, I mean, if the power is not non-existent, what's the purpose of having that? So if you take a look at, let's say, the agricultural sector, these are people that are in remote areas, and some of those places may not actually have, you know, deepened, you know, broadband services within those areas. So you can imagine a system where you require a huge, you know, like a concerted investment within those areas to actually, you know, capture gains within those places. So, for example, in agriculture, you now have the deployment of drones, which are now being used to, you know, target, let's say, application of fertilizers, you know, weeding. You now have drones which use lasers to actually control weeds within farms. You actually have mechanized drones which deliver, you know, let's say, water through, and it actually like sprays and irrigates, or fumigates the different farms out there. And you see China actually adopting these technologies, but it's a lot easier for them to, you know, roll out those adoption, because the manufacturing industry is just right there with them. It's, you don't keep your raw materials away from, where your produce is. So it's a question of, let's say, the industry has to mature to a greater extent. And if it's already now saturated in areas that have the ability to roll out the investments on their own privately, you then now see the manufacturers, or let's say the producers of these advanced technologies, seek out more areas to explore.
Okay, so let's bring it back home to our parents, our guardians. I came across a story some time ago where they say the Chinese people in school, they don't give their kids, the students, calculators or anything like that. You have to calculate with your brain. That's a way of structuring them into being a good, thinker and what have you. How can parents actually help the younger ones, to prepare them for an AI technology-driven future? Because these same parents are the ones that when you're on your phone, they'll discourage you. Drop this phone, you play a lot. When you're on the computer, they'll say you're too young to use the computer. From the understanding of how they started, how they are not exposed to things like this, how can these parents help the younger ones to be prepared for AI?
Everything requires moderation, and you have to basically regulate, the introduction of technologies to children. And there are exceptions where you may actually have, outliers, people that are actually, able to do incredible things with these technologies. And it's more like saying you don't want to actually have a child learning physics, but at some point you realize that there are children that by the time they get to 12 years, they're already almost at, advanced level physics. And how would they actually have adopted this level of knowledge if not as a result of the fact that they had access to, a much more advanced literature than their peers? So that's the same way I expect that you might actually find some children have a deeper intuition around some of these emerging technologies. And in a world where we are more afraid about AI, we mostly don't always imagine a future when the AI then moves from the software level and embraces a hardware and becomes more like an operating system, and no longer as a tool which we basically access from our own devices. It becomes something that's much more interactive. So you may have, small pet robots that are able to communicate with children. You might have humanoid robots who are tutors. Would you actually say that as a result of the fact that you do not wish to expose the children to, let's say, tablet devices which have this artificial intelligences, that you don't now want them to access some of these innovations when they arrive? So nuance is actually always required to understand the balance there. I encourage parents and even my own kids to go out, explore the world, interact with the real world, because you see, it's easy to get sucked into the digital world. And for kids, you basically need to develop your right and left hemisphere, and you do that by actually, interacting with nature, being curious, playing with your fingers, figuring out the world by your own self. So when you're actually interacting with devices like this, you are being, directed towards a direction. It's something somebody curated and put out there to consume your attention. And the most important paper that was released in artificial intelligence or machine learning, the topic of the paper is attention is all you need. So if the children requires to pay attention, we then need to ensure that we don't, introduce things that are actually going to reduce their attention spans, because that's what some of these devices do. So basically, first things first, you must realize that trying to educate your children through YouTube is not always the best method. You must, be physically present there, be the one to actually help them with their homeworks. Don't outsource it to the devices to help them do that.
That's where you know those homeworks now.
Yeah.
Everyone will go get that.
Even if you don't, you still, get a tutor to actually, help them out. But for bonding's sake, it's always good to be the one to, guide them through those assignments whenever they come back from school.
All right, let's speak blockchain.
Yeah.
Right. So what are the risks and potentials of, adopting the blockchain, the crypto in Nigeria? What are the chances? Because I'm sure that Nigeria is not really receptive to some extent of crypto. But what are the risks and potentials, the benefits of adopting it into the system here in Nigeria?
Okay, so when it comes to, let me start with the risks. Let's start from the challenges that we might have.
Yes.
Some of the systems that we already have within our society are basically what you call systems that rely on trust.
Okay.
So let's say you're trying to get a job, and people are mostly informally going to say man no man, and you're getting a job based on who you know within that system. If you have a decentralized ledger, which is what underpins your recruitment process, which means that it's going to be transparent, which means it's immutable. We can basically see what the outcome of the results, or let's say the entrance or the merit exams are, and it can be tampered. You have a system which is then now going to shift from something that relies on who you know to something that now shifts over to something that is much more merit-based. And that may not be something that, let's say, the old guard or an old order might find convenient. And as a result of that, you might see somebody say, no, I don't want to adopt something that is actually going to bring transparency to a system.
Yes.
And you could actually also, because more often than not, when people talk about the blockchain, they're mostly always looking at the financial part of blockchain, and they forget about other incredible use cases which the blockchain can actually introduce to the system. So let's say we have our land records, and people tend to complain that so oftentimes these things are always doctored, and people change different information and tamper with a certificate of occupancy or transfer rights or deeds to somebody. And if you actually have an immutable ledger, which is always going to capture every single change to the database, because that's basically what the blockchain is decentralized ledger technology, distributed ledger technology. So it's basically a digital ledger, which provides proof of every single record inside that place. So if there's any single tamper to that ledger, you must actually see it, and it will be recorded on chain. And anybody anywhere could actually spin up a blockchain node, depending on the type of blockchain it is, and then actually, have access to it and see what everybody has been doing on it. So there are certain risks which I see from a point of view that the risks that blockchain poses for us within Nigeria is it's going to disrupt the old order. It's going to, disrupt the old system. It's going to create new systems which are going to be trustless. They're going to be merit-based, and it's actually going to be immutable, meaning that it's tamper-proof. We're not going to have situations where you hear that the record houses are being burnt, or that the monkey swallowed some records, or some files were mysteriously disappeared. We could actually move to a system where we move beyond that paradigm. Within the financial system, it's always the risks are much more exaggerated.
Yes.
Because every single thing we do seems to rely on economics, and there's always money being transacted. But like I said, there are so many applications of blockchain beyond the financial way that we know. It could actually serve within the electoral system to ensure that we have tamper-proof votes, and that if somebody voted, your proof is your proof. So those are some of the risks. So when we move to potentials, you could actually see the blockchain solving a whole lot more than it actually seems to disrupt. So like I said, it's probably going to disrupt
some of the existing order or the way we do things and introduce something much more novel. And the potentials within that system are actually quite very explosive. So for example now, the first, or so let's say the OG blockchain is known as Bitcoin.
Yes.
And all we've been able to do with Bitcoin since inception has been just to hold it. That's what people have been doing with Bitcoin. Now you have protocols, emerging new protocols, which are actually, on the radar of the White House Digital Asset Report, like Citria and different other Bitcoin layer 2s, which are now innovating on this protocol, which we know. So blockchain as we've known it and the Bitcoin that we've known for a long time, which has been very popular, has just been popular as just a store of value. Now it's now being programmable. And if you are able to program Bitcoin and you are actually, combine the different strengths which it then now inherits now. You have the programmability, you now have privacy on one side, you have store of value on another side. You can then now imagine a situation where we build things that are actually trustless within our society. Now let me give you an example of an incredible potential which you can actually achieve with the blockchain. We know Ajo, the Esusu,
yes,
the basic contributory fund, which we basically always do. The biggest risks that this system actually has is, you can actually have the custodian of the money abscond with the money.
Yes.
Or somebody might be the first recipient of the payouts and the person will probably like, no, I'm no longer doing again. You get, and then also the funds that you actually contribute, you don't actually earn any interest on it. It's just lying idle. It's not productive.
Yes.
Then you can then now think of a future where you can design a system built on our native systems, like this Isusu Ajo is a native construct of how we've been able to, collectively build wealth. And we can actually do something that runs on a trustless system, requires you not to trust anybody. And you can actually earn yield on that collective pool, and you can actually use logic or maths to encode a system where you basically then now have you are disincentivized to take away or run away with your own payouts, and nobody can actually rob or let's say run away with your treasury.
Yes.
And then from there you can actually unlock more things like credits, and loans through your reputation within such a system. So these are some of the potentials that you can explore from the financial side of blockchain. I feel like let me just
all right, let's get to know about your activities in the tech. Lately you've been very busy in that area, and let's bring it back also to Nigeria. With your experience in the tech world, which of the sectors do you think the government is blind to, technology-wise and AI-wise?
Okay, today I joined the ENUGU state government and State Commissioner of Science and Innovation alongside the Gombe State Commissioner of Science and Innovation. And we were at Renaissance University today for the pre-campus tour of ENUGU Tech Festival. Now, I must actually commend the direction which the ENUGU state government is going on that front, because they are tackling it head on. And it's not, from every indication, it's not being approached from an angle of we're just trying to do this for fame or for glory, or it's more like it's a civilizational mission. They understand the juncture we are in and understand that the youths are the bedrock of technology. The future depends on them, and we must unlock that latent, talent within them before you actually start conceiving ideas of Japa or immigrating out of Nigeria. Contribute. Don't be a black box. Be a glass box. Let the world know what you're capable of. From right now that you're in the university, start now. If you're a creator, start now. These emerging technologies that are out there, it's really, today there were so many updates within the tech space. Google released the Gemini Nano Pro, which means that you and I and anyone out there could actually become an incredible product designer. You no longer require a brand, like let's assume you want to change, create a flyer, and which you would probably require a graphic designer to do that. That job is gradually being wiped away, because you can basically instruct and speak to the AI model, and it actually gives you high fidelity on the instructions you give to it. Soon Adobe Photoshop might be something of the past. I didn't really believe that until I saw it today. Now, for my own activities within the space now, there's incredible traction within the blockchain space and the AI space. That's what I've always noticed immensely, because within ENUGU State, from January to now, ENUGU has really had incredible builders pushing at the frontier of these technologies. And the evidence is there, is really out there. Now we have ENUGU builders in Argentina joining the Ethereum DevCon conference. We have Kevin, the convener of Ethereum ENUGU, he's already in Argentina, and some other, the Web3 conference organizers, they're all in Argentina. This where the leading minds in the blockchain industries are converging. I myself lead an emerging blockchain protocol in the Bitcoin space. So that simply means ENUGU has a national lead in the Bitcoin space. We have somebody at the frontier in the Ethereum space. If you go into AI, I won an award this year at the Festival Niger AI Film Festival for the best short film created with AI. Now, this is a testament to the fact that we are here within this industry, we are in this local ecosystem, and we are pushing the frontier from this state. We're saying we're not leaving ENUGU State, we're not going to another state, we're not going to Lagos, we're going to stay here, we're going to build, and we'll keep building. So it's actually been motivating a lot of people, it's been inspiring more people to actually say, yes, I can do that. And there are now much more builder hubs emerging. Places that you call builder hubs, like a facility which I run, the Bacon Smith's house, which allows you come there, explore the frontier technologies, be it AI models, be it blockchain technologies. If you want to build in the blockchain, you can simply just walk into spaces like that and then join different communities that are actually there, because we converge within these spaces. We organize events within these spaces, we educate ourselves, and anybody that is willing to learn. Now,
both persons who have no prior knowledge of tech, you can attend.
Newbies. Now the truth is this, if I'm going to be sincere to you, gossip and showbiz, or should I say entertainment, is much more attractive to the youths. That's the bigger challenge. You are basically battling to capture the attention of people that are really distracted by things that are not really productive. So what we do is not glossing. We spend a lot of time and efforts and resources trying to ensure that we attract new people to come and learn these things. Now, this reminds me of the early days of when computer networking and web programming came out. Google, Facebook, Yahoo, and some other companies, I think BlackBerry also, and some leading telecom, Sony Ericsson during that era, they were actually conducting free workshops, begging people to become developers, begging people to actually become technologists in that era. Not many people adopted it at that moment, and guess what? Right now, you have everybody wanting to be a tech bro, and now you are going to then now pay a huge amount of money to learn that emerging technology, which it was in 2010. Now, right now, the same scenario is playing around. And I can only say this because I was around from 2010 to 2015 to see when we were begging people to attend events like that.
So what can break the narrative? Because if these youths are not interested, they don't have that thing that forces them to come into tech, what really can be done to bring them, to make tech attractive?
Platforms like the ENUGU Tech Festival. the government has a greater ability to mobilize people en masse. I would require a huge amount of resources, network, and manpower to actually do what was actually done within the university we went to today. But you could actually basically see the government write letters to the different universities and tell them, we're coming to sensitize students on an upcoming event like this. And when they do things like that, they embrace and encourage the emerging tech leaders and existing tech leaders within the ecosystem to come along with the government. So that way, we no longer have to struggle for an audience.
Yes.
You basically are put in front of your audience and you are able to, bring this gospel
to them.
Directly.
Thank you so much. I wish we could go on. I mean, I was paying attention. I hope I have an interest, but you know how life goes. All right, thank you so much, Engineer Nzube, for joining us. It's been a wonderful time having you with us.
As always,
all right.
Pleasure.
All right, that was our guest, Engineer Nzube Chikwado Ndiokwelu. Coming up next is our second interview for the night. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We are local.
The international community is observing every...
Just finished the Why the meat market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye.
Aye. We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
The way we see the world shapes the way we change it. Gender isn't just a checkbox, it's a lens. One that helps us understand the world more deeply and act more fairly. Gender Perspectives, a program for those ready to see more, do more, and be more. Designed to challenge assumptions, ignite conversations, and build inclusive solutions across every sector of society.
We are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights.
We're only asking they should recognize our existence.
Join us on Gender Perspectives, showing every Saturday by 4 p.m. Repeat every Wednesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 3 p.m. Change begins with perspective. Let's widen yours.
We, the family of late Mazi Edmondo Koronkwaakpa of Imamambo in our local government area of Enugu State, announce the painful death of our beloved brother, husband, father, and uncle, Dr. Polycarp Obiora Akpa, Associate Professor, Veterinary Medicine, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, aged 53. Burial arrangement, Thursday, 20th November 2025, 6 p.m. Vigil Mass at St. John's Catholic Church, Mbogo, Friday, 21st of November 2025, 7:30 a.m. Body leaves University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, Department of Morbid Anatomy, to his residence at Sekos Layout, Transekulu, Enugu, 9 a.m. Body arrives at his family compound, Oluokwe, Imamambo, for lying in state, 11 a.m. Requiem Mass at St. John's Catholic Church, Mbogo, 12:30 p.m. Interment at his family compound, Oluokwe, Imamambo, 1 p.m. Reception follows immediately after interment at St. John's Catholic Church, Mbogo, Saturday, 22nd of November 2025. Reception and condolence visits continue. Sunday, 23rd November 2025, 9 a.m. Thanksgiving Mass at St. John's Catholic Church, Mbogo. Announcer, Chief Sir Nze Lawrence Akpa for the family.
Registration is essential to control certain things. So if you volunteer to be a limited liability company, you cannot be feeding, from the company, defrauding the company, using the company to cheat people. That's one of the essence of registration. You pay tax to government, and CAC is the body that will tell you, go and pay, you have not paid. If you don't pay, you will not, your books, returns, what is when you update your books, annual returns will not be accepted, or even you pay in arrears. But with reference to POS and CAC, CAC says you must register. They have that authority. For you to do a business, you must register. So it is not that they are fighting. They can't fight because that one is performing his duty. If you are negligent, if you refuse to obey or respect him, it doesn't mean you are fighting. So what I'm saying is that if CAC says you should register, you register. Then There are some that will pay what they call income tax. There are people who pay these other aspects of tax, that is company tax. So I'm CEO and co. Doesn't elevate my status so that to the federal government, so I'll be paying to CAC. I'm supposed to pay to the Board of Internal Revenue as an individual. Then, if they say the state now approves a token for all these people who are doing petty trading, then it's their law.
We are local.
The international community is observing
Why the main market is in chaos. People are...
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken it to by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
All right, coming up next is an interview with international correspondent Vin Martin Obiora Ilo discussing the UNDP Rwanda Partnering Development. Let's take a listen.
Hello and thanks for joining us. With me to talk about the work of UNDP in Rwanda is Fatmata Loveta Sese, the resident representative of UNDP in Rwanda. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me in your studio today.
Well, how would you describe the work that the UNDP is doing in Rwanda?
Yes. Thank you so much. It's a real opportunity for us to talk about UNDP's work in Rwanda. But I have to start by giving you the context on how we work in Rwanda. First of all, the government sets its development agenda. And currently in Rwanda, there's a national strategy for transformation too that the government is implementing. Us as UNDP, one of the development partners, what we do is we accompany government. We say UNDP can never be at the front, not even at the side. We are behind government's efforts on development. So the way we do that is then the UN system in Rwanda develops a cooperation framework. Within that, after that cooperation framework, we have what we call the country program document that outlines in the next 4 to 5 years what are the key areas that are already in the NST2 that we're going to implement together with governments. And I can tell you some of the three key areas for us, and a fourth which is a cross-cutting. In Rwanda, we work broadly on governance issues. Actually, I just came back from the launch of the Rwanda Governance Scorecard, which is a national system of monitoring governance as well as service delivery, one that is very unique to Rwanda, accountability to self. And within governance, we work with the Ministry of Justice on access to justice and rule of law. We work on national unity interventions. That's one key area. We have a second important pillar, which looks at environment and climate change, financing biodiversity, what policies are required to do so, what programs we implement, and we have a long list of things that we do with government in that. In fact, we're just getting ready to go to COP30, where together with the government of Rwanda, we are launching a biodiversity window. A third key area of work for UNDP is in small and medium enterprises, work around youth entrepreneurship, youth employment, Rwanda's positioning to explore the Africa Continental Free Trade Area around trade, so SMEs in general. Then our cross-cutting pillar area of work is now around macroeconomic policy support that we provide, research, evidence to actually influence policy. We do a lot of technical briefs, and we focus so much on digitalization to ensure inclusion, leaving no one behind, and at the same time, the government's agenda to ensure Rwanda is fully digitalized, all of its public services. Also, that's a cross-cutting issue. Gender equality is another area that we work in, and very recently we just ensured that within the Rwanda Standards Board, the gender standards are being incorporated, and a number of companies, private companies and one government institution, was actually awarded the seal, the gender seal. So gender equality is also another area of work. So these are things we do which require us working with a number of government institutions as well as other development partners and our colleague UN agencies in Rwanda.
I can see two key points in all this. One is collaboration, and the other is a lot of planning. When you look at how your work impacts and this collaboration impacts on development in Rwanda, do you think it's something other African countries should be looking at exploring?
Yeah, you've actually touched on very important points. There's hardly anything one stakeholder can do by themselves and achieve results. Collective results and collective impact is what we gear towards. So without collaboration, working with government, other development partners, we wouldn't see some of the results that we have seen. But one thing that I have to point out is in Rwanda, the government sets the development agenda. And when they do so after extensive consultation, review of previous plans. So by the time they agree these are the areas of emphasis, these are really the areas that have the catalytic impact to reach everybody else. So collaboration is key, partnership is really central. You also touched on what many other countries can learn from Rwanda. And one of the few countries in which I've worked in Africa, that I see they have a separate institution, the Rwanda Cooperation Institution, Rwanda Cooperative Initiative, RCI, that is especially geared towards providing the opportunity for other countries to learn from Rwanda. And I'm going to use this opportunity to say that on the 11th and 12th of December, the RCI, together with us, we are collaborating with them, there's going to be a conference on South-South cooperation. We are in over 70 missions that have come to Rwanda from different countries, and not only in Africa, other parts of the world, to learn from a number of the homegrown solutions from Rwanda. We're going to showcase what they have done with what they have come to learn. So there is definitely a lot that many other countries from Africa can learn from Rwanda. But one thing I also like about Rwanda, Rwandans also want to learn from other countries. They're never thinking where they are at this level, that's it, and it's all enough. And that's really the commitment to development that inspires us, myself and my colleagues in UNDP. Because we see the country is progressing, doing very well, but they're not settling. They're like, there's more to do. And every other country that visits, that comes to learn from Rwanda, we also learn from them. And this conference, that's what we're calling it, South-South, in which countries come in to showcase what they've learned from Rwanda and how they've implemented it. And Rwanda also taking notes of experiences that they will share. So there's so much to learn from this country. I have to tell you personally, I actually feel I'm in a workshop working in Rwanda. And I tell my colleagues, I am learning way much more than I can ever give to a country. I look forward to where I'll take all of those lessons some other day.
You know, one of the things you said that makes a whole lot of sense to me, you've said that more than 2 times in this interview, that Rwanda determines the areas and what they want to do in terms of development, which is absent in a lot of developing countries, where they leave everything to donors, agencies to come with their own solutions and come with what they think is the need of the country. How does this kind of posture, how does it help a developing country?
Yes. No, you've asked a question that requires us taking a step back to reflect on where Rwanda is coming from. Even in our own individual lives, in our households, you go through a certain experience. Say, for example, children lose a parent. There are 2 options and 2 ways often where they respond. Either they become completely despondent and give up in life and think all is lost, there's nothing I can do, I don't have my parents. Some other children become so determined that I know what my parents would have wanted me to be, and I'm going to be that. Rwanda went through a dark moment on the genocide against the Tutsis. That experience, in my opinion, from what I've seen for the 1.5 years that I'm working here, has made this country so resolute never to go back. Has made this country so resolute, the country and its people and the government, so resolute to do everything to prove that small in size does not mean you cannot have big ideas and achieve them. So many countries, and you don't have to have an experience similar to Rwanda to have that resolution. There's just a commitment to say a better life is what we also want for ourselves, and we can pursue that life. So that history has made them so determined, so resilient. And within that, one thing that I really also admire is we believe in cooperation, we believe in multilateralism, and this is what I'm interpreting from Rwanda. We believe we can learn a lot of lessons from others, but we're not waiting. We will set our agenda, meet us along the way, and you work with us. And I'm really glad, myself and my colleagues in the UNDP Rwanda office, we have seen that determination, that commitment, that resolve. And we are so committed to work with government to show indeed that what is possible in partnership. But before that partnership, there is sovereignty. You identify what you need. No one can come to your house and tell you how you should set your chairs and your tables better than the way you can do it. If anything, they can help you move the chair together. And that's really the beauty about working on development in Rwanda, in which we see the resolve. And it really cascades at all levels, I have to say that. I have been fortunate to travel to over almost 20 districts out of the 30 districts in Rwanda. Wherever I have been, at the local government level, at the cell level, I have found committed government officials, committed individuals, committed Rwandans who are willing every day to make a difference and to make Rwanda better than it was.
And where do you think leadership plays a role in all this that you're telling me?
Okay. I'm going to hope you're not going to ask me a question that gets into anything deeper, but we know that we say that often that, and the only thing I'm going to say is, yes, leadership is important in everything that we do. But we have to say this as well. Leadership does not mean the person at the head alone. It means leadership at all levels. And I'll tell you an example with my colleagues in here in UNDP Rwanda, where I'm the resident representative. We have a dynamic deputy resident representative, and we have team leads. No matter how strong my leadership is, if all my colleague team leads, everybody else that needs to play a part in UNDP does not play their part, it's not going to work. So it's a combination. Wherever people find themselves, they're a leader. And I'll give you an example. I was in Rwamagana, one of the districts in the eastern province of Rwanda. And in the evening, I was just taking a walk. I saw this beautiful government building. It has electricity. It was clean and neat. I know where I'm coming from. Then I decided to take a picture. I'm like, wow, I just want to see. It's so impressive. You leave the city, Kigali. You go to the eastern province. It's all clean and beautiful. I wanted to take a picture. And I did. And then the security guard comes to me, walks up to me and says, why are you taking a picture without permission? I was like, wow, I am so sorry. I apologize. And so on. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to delete the picture? And so on. It's like, no, I just needed you to at least request my permission. I was so impressed with that single act because it means that's his area he's guarding. He has authority over that area. Nobody comes and just trespasses. So that's the kind of commitment. When I say there's commitment to accountability, to owning for results, for being responsible in the area where that's leadership, in my opinion. So, and that's what you find in Rwanda. Yes, leadership at the top is committed and devoted and really wants a better life for everyone else. And we can see that in the results. I was going to go into the poverty figures. You can see that in the results. But in addition, every other Rwandan that I've interacted with really takes responsibility. I know that a colleague of mine mentioned to me that their daughter was telling them, you can't just throw trash that way because that is taught in school. Cleanliness is taught in school. And it's leadership at all levels, and that's really what we see here. Institutions. I have just been impressed with the commitment of ministers in this country. You don't struggle to meet ministers, especially when it has something to do with their work. Ready and willing. That's leadership. So it's really leadership that has, yes, could have started from the top, but it has permeated into the system that we think there's sustainability around accountability, leadership, and the desire for results and better lives for everyone.
A lot of the good things you've talked about Rwanda and what's going on in Rwanda. One will talk about the bottom line.
Yes.
How does all this translate to better life for the ordinary Rwandan. Are the figures changing? Are they optimistic numbers? Are we looking at a better future based on these activities that are taking place today?
Okay. As I am painting this beautiful picture about Rwanda, one thing this question reminds me of is how Rwandans hold themselves to such high standards and they'll tell you we're not there yet. So they are aware there are challenges that needs to be addressed, for example, in human capital building, in education, not only pass rates, not only enrollment, but the quality of education. So there are discussions around what needs to improve here and there. And that's also something that is admirable. Like many want to learn from me, but you're saying we're not there yet, we can't settle. I met a Rwandan recently, I was in Kenya, and we were talking about digitalization and the AI and rolling and so on, and there's actually an article that mentioned 4 countries in Africa that are leading in that direction, which is South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, and Nigeria. And they was like, but we're not there. And this Rwandan was telling me, I'm like, I really like when I see that. Because for many other countries, we think Rwanda is making such progress, and that's true by many standards. But at the same time, you say, we can't settle. We have other countries that have something that we don't have, and we really want to get there. So that's really the Rwanda that we're painting. So I'm saying, how do we see this is translating? There is a recent figure, EICV7, which is the household poverty data that was collected, and an analysis made to document what is the poverty rate currently in Rwanda. This was done together with the World Bank, the National Institute of Statistics, NISR, produced the data, and it shows that between 2018 to 2024, poverty figures have declined from 38% to 27.4%. That's about 11 percentage point poverty rate decline in about...
We are local.
The international community is observing every...
Just finished the game. Why the meat market is in chaos. People are...
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Welcome back. We apologize for cutting the interview short. We're moving over to our next segment for tonight, What's Up segment. But remember, our Pupils Forum is coming up shortly, and you can join the conversation by calling the number displayed on your screen. The number to call is 081-4810-8254. All right, let's look at what's trending today on social media. Benue State Governor Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia is under fire after declaring on November 20th, 2025 that there is no genocide in Benue, no religious, ethnic, or state-sponsored extermination, just security challenges from farmer-herder clashes. But in April this year, the same governor called the killings in his state planned, targeted, and religiously executed. A deliberate siege on Christian communities. Same man, same crisis, 2 completely different stories in just 7 months. Is this a political U-turn, federal pressure, or a priest-turned-governor trying to calm a powder keg? We are breaking it down, the statement, the backlash, and why. All right, let's look at the videos and the comments of citizens reacting. the first video, the media would play to us shortly. The first video where he said that there were no killings, and the second video.
Must up this game in our support and in fighting this insurgency. It is targeted, it is planned, and religiously it is being executed. They are terrorists, period. And we strongly believe
of the cloth. So I am a reverend father. So being in governance does not take that away from me. I am still a reverend father. I came in as a governor, as a reverend father. I am working with the fear of God and the compassion of Christianity and humanity. And at the end of the day, I'm still going back to the church as a reverend father and a good Christian. So that is for the record. We need to understand this. In my state of Benue, we don't have any religious, any ethnic, any racial, any national or state genocide. We don't have that. Do we have a number of insecurities in the state? Yes, we do. But it is not a genocide. Someone would need to go through there to check the United Nations definitions for this. Have we lost a number of people? Yes. We have at different stages. If I've given you a background of the challenges we've had many years ago, we're talking about the agro-pastoralists, got them the headers. And then we're talking about the agro-farmers, typical farmers. So it began like play, like joke, and then it went over and then just continued to some huge proportions. But that does not fit into the parameters of a genocide. So for those who seek to politicize everything, there is no genocide in Benue State. But we have security challenges in Benue.
All right, I'm sure you just watched that video. Now let's take a look at some comments from Nigerians reacting to those videos. The first comment from Zaila says, "Laugh my LAMO." That man has been expelled from the Catholic priesthood, though. The Catholic Church Ford not associated herself with him. Everything he is saying is of his own selfish interest. What exactly do you expect from one who disobeyed the church, joined APC, and runs his government as all APC leaders do?
Okay. Now let's take a look at the next one here. This is coming from Proggy. The same Benue states that community gets ransacked and farmlands get burnt. It will always be your own people, my God. Even a reverend father, a supposed Christian, cannot speak against the evil going on in his states.
Next comment is, even the United States you're making reference to, its definition of genocide. Reference to its definition of genocide has declared what's going on in Nigeria a genocide. But governor said it's just a security challenge. What level of delusion is this?
And this one says, when the Bible said judgment will start from the house of God, this is what it is. So-called Reverend Father denies the same genocide that his predecessor was termed as genocide against Christians. The same propaganda that amplified the issue at hand, Christians genocide.
All right, next comment says, this is from the property lawyer, says, even the United States, I think we've read this. There should be another one. Let's play it. There's another comment. We've read this. All right. Kido Butai says, is he a member of the APC? Because it seems the top dogs in APC are calling the governors to underreport the killings. All right. Next comment is from Francisco Brainiac. He said, what APC cannot do does not exist. All right, that's the last comment we will take from this first trending. Moving on to our second trending story. All right, we'll take the last one for want of time. This is from Mamouza Aria Legrand. He says, it's a chronic lack of accountability. We honestly need better news media in Nigeria. Nigerians are grossly uninformed. The single most important thing for our democracy is a well-informed electorate. All right, I wish, I mean, the lady that says Nigeria needs a stronger and more vocal media, I couldn't agree more. I mean, how can a man say one thing
and the next
just in 7 months? Is it that the atmosphere
change,
or maybe the thing don't finally reach her?
It's I don't know, like the ways these politicians portray politics. I don't know. It now gives the younger generations the impression that politics is the same. If you go
honestly,
like,
because tell me, yes, not just that he's a Christian, he's a reverend father. I don't even know how. I don't think I've heard. Anyway, maybe my bad. I didn't know that a reverend father was going to be a governor of a state. All right, we are now.
Actually, you can.
You can.
Yeah, you can.
Oh wow! All right.
So now this takes us to the next segment of the show, where we have the People's Forum, where you can join in and share your thoughts with us and be part of the conversation. This platform will be open right now for you to be part of us. Tonight on People's Forum, we turn to a major development shaking the country: the conviction and life imprisonment sentence of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. For over a decade, Kanu has been at the center of the Southeast separatist agitation, from the rise of IPOB to the sit-at-home orders, to clashes between security forces and the Eastern Security Network, and the deep frustrations fueling calls for self-determination. The Federal High Court's ruling has now brought the legal battle to a dramatic point. Justice Omotosho found Kanu guilty of terrorism-related offenses, including incitement and bomb-making instructions, while rejecting the government's push for the death penalty. But the questions left behind are even bigger than the verdict. What does this mean for peace in the Southeast, for the separatist movement, for our justice system, and the country's unity? Is this ruling a step towards stability, or could it ignite new tensions? We want to hear from you. What does your judgment signal for Nigeria's future, and how should the nation move forward? Please stay with us as we listen to what happened in court today. Stay with us.
He attracts bees and ants. People will like him. If you like, let them put him in Cameroon. If you like, let them put him in Morocco. Nnamdi Kanu have followers everywhere. We don't do what is wrong. We hate nobody. We have not been against anybody in Nigeria. We have cohabited with everybody in Nigeria peacefully, peaceably. There is no tribe that is treated the way we are treated. This nonsense got to stop. If they are no more interested in the union, we can talk peacefully. We don't have to kill ourselves. We have intermarried. We have Yoruba wives and in-laws. We have Hausa in-laws. We can talk peacefully. They must not continue pushing this narrative. When it comes to an Igbo man, they just keep the law.
For those of you who don't understand what we just read, after 10 years, of court cases, trials, Nnamdi Kanu has been finally sentenced to life imprisonment.
Life
imprisonment. He was convicted on 7 different counts, but one of them, all of them had their sentencing 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But I think it was on the count of terrorism that he was granted the life imprisonment. And of course, the way it works, you have 20, you have life. So everything just overrides. The 25-10 overrides the life. So he spends all the time in prison. After spending 10 years, was he in jail or in prison? I'm not sure now for that 10 years. In custody.
Yeah.
I mean, each time he appears in court, he's wearing the same outfits each time. And then finally, I think earlier today, when he came into court, he was so agitated that he was, for lack of a better word, thrown out.
It's this is really sad because when the government wants to deal with you, they will see you. You remember this guy was taken away from Kenya, and brought back to Nigeria. When they want to deal with you, they will know how to get to you and deal with you.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we have people that are in the north carrying guns, opening TikTok, killing people, and living their life, and they cannot be traced and killed.
Yeah.
We've heard of different terrorist attempts, different terrorist cases, bandits killing people from different angles, and these people have not been accounted for. These people have not been
We have a call.
It's something.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Abia State.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, we are watching the program on the television now.
All right, thank you. So we are discussing the life imprisonment sentence issued on Nnamdi Kanu today.
Yes, it's what we are discussing now.
Yes.
My own contribution on this program is that let God come and take the war, because we are not where we are again. If this man can be in the custody for some years now, at the end of the day, the sentence is people are just moving around. We are not nowhere. How can they give this man life imprisonment because he's unable? What is happening in the northern part of the country? Every day you hear killing every day killing. Government pay the ransom, but here in the east part of the country, no way. I pray one day God will answer us in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do well and call us, share your thoughts. Now, one of the saddest things for me is they had to wait 10 years.
Like, why stress this man all this while? Why didn't
you
always know out there?
Or is it that in the 10 years they've been looking for counts, something to pin on him, something to convict him, or because we know that the system can be impartial sometimes.
So let's take this call. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Please, what's your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is John. I'm calling from Abuja.
All right, please
go ahead.
Yeah. My comment on Nnamdi Kanu sentence is premised on the fact that I see this as a game, a political game that is being played towards 2027. Yes.
Okay.
Why? I said it's a game.
All right.
That is being played towards 2027 election.
Okay.
Why am I saying this? This man has been in custody for some years now, and the case has been dragging. Now they quickly pass judgment after he dismissed all his lawyers. Nobody to defend him. I say it is a game because I feel, yes, the government of the day wants to use this sentence as a bargaining chips to get the Southeast to vote for APC in 2027. Yes, I believe he will be released by next year. They will grant him amnesty by next year and use that as a bargaining chips to lure or woo the Southeasterners to say, okay, this man was sentenced to life imprisonment. Now The government has released him. They have granted him amnesty. So let us vote for him. I see this as it's a claw, it's a game towards 2027. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's quite.
I don't think. Yes, I haven't really thought of it in that light. I think there was a time that I had, there were conversations going on that was before the whole sentencing. But with what happened today, and then it ruled out every other possibility. But hearing our caller speak of it being a strategy, I mean, it could be. Yes, it could be. Now, what I want to understand, what I don't know how I feel about it is, it's possible that it's a strategy. Yet, it's possible that it's a strategy, possible or not. Now, the Southeast that has been, they've been waiting patiently for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Now we've had the sit-at homes, we've had the days. I think earlier in the years, there are days when he's going to court. The days that he's going to court, that day is they declare it a sit at home, aside the one of Mondays, as acts of solidarity. We support you and all of that. I don't know how they are going to receive this news now that he's been sentenced.
It's really a sad day for not just the Easterners but everybody. Yeah, as you can see on social media, many people, even the Yoruba man, everybody seem not to be comfortable with this pronouncement.
Yes.
You understand? But the question now is that if this is effective on this man, what happens to tens of thousands of Nigerians that are guilty of one crime or the other? We don't hear anything about them. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
If you can take 10 years to judge a man, and he's found guilty on 7 separate counts. I think earlier in the news, the judge called him an international terrorist. How? This man has never lifted a gun. This man has never come out to say, "Oh, I hate the Nigerians." So how did he? How is he declared an international terrorist?
Let's get the opinion of our callers. The number to call is 0814-810-254. 0814-810-254. That is the number to call. Let's get to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this? I know many Nigerians. All right, so we're still looking at the court decision today. What is your take on that? Mind you, when you're calling in, please turn down the volume on your TV set so we can hear you and we don't have to experience the whole back that we do most times to receive the calls. We just hope that this energy that's put into this case can also be distributed to other parts, that we are experiencing as well. We are still talking about the kidnap case happening in some parts of the country where these girls are abducted. Until now, we are yet to hear something regarding their release or them being rescued and what have you. We're still expecting to hear or see reactions from that angle too. Foreign bodies are also calling in and saying one or two things. But so far on People's Forum, we're discussing the pronouncements of the court today on Nnamdi Kanu. The number once again to call is 0814-8108-254. 0814-8108-254. That is the number to call to be part of the conversation. Let's get your thoughts. What is your opinion regarding the life imprisonment of Nnamdi Kanu? Let's go back to the video. Let's also listen to what the people over there are saying. We'll be right back.
Only he attacked bees and ants. If you like him, if you like, let them put him in Cameroon. If you like, let them put him in a Morocco. Nnamdi Kanu have followers everywhere. We don't do what is wrong. We hate nobody. We have not been against anybody in Nigeria. We have cohabited with everybody in Nigeria peacefully, peaceably. There is no tribe that is treated the way we are treated. This nonsense got to stop. If they are no more interested in the union, we can talk peacefully. We don't have to kill ourselves. We have intermarried. We have Yoruba wives and in-laws. We have Hausa in-laws. We can talk peacefully. They must not continue pushing this narrative. When it comes to an Igbo man, they just keep the law.
All right, let's take this call. Hello, good evening. Hello, are you there? Hello, can you hear us? Hello, are you there? We can hear you. I don't know what happened to that call, but please do well to call us back and be attentive to your call, okay? 0814-810-254. That is the number to call. And please, when you call in, stay away from your television or put down the volume of your TV set so we don't have to hear the background talking, so we understand what you're saying and those at home can also hear us and understand the conversation. The number once again is 0814-810-8254. That is the number to call in and be part of the conversation. What is your opinion? What is your thoughts regarding the ruling of the court, the judgment of the court today? Let's get this call. Hello, good evening. Please, what's your name and where you're calling us from?
Hello?
Yeah, your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from...
You're calling from where?
I'm calling from Cross River.
Okay, Cross River. Please, what's your name?
My name is...
All right, that should be network. I don't know. We could see calls jamming. I don't know if the line is going through some sort of traffic or it's network on its own. But
I'm sure it's probably the network.
Yeah. But then again, don't let that discourage you. Please let your call come through 0814-8108-254. That is the number displayed on your screen. All right, call in and let's get your thoughts. But it's really surprising the way judgments, the way courts happens in Nigeria. You know, the case of Ike, what's that man's name again? Ikwere Madu, yes. When what happened in the UK, it didn't take long. Judgment was pronounced. When in Nigeria, we're going to have cases whereby if one is held for a reason, just within months, judgment will be pronounced.
Yes.
Instead of the back and forth and keeping someone in custody for a long time. Hello, good evening. Please, what's your name and where you're calling from?
Hello, good evening, sir. My name is Jacob. I'm calling from Abuja.
You're welcome, Jacob.
All right, go ahead.
Yes. What is really happening in Nigeria at this point is really, really terrible.
Go
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
See, I personally believe that in an unjust society, silence is a crime, and if we don't help bring about justice, we personally will be a victim of injustice. What is happening to the Igbos in Nigeria is really, really unacceptable. It's very bad. Because those people are being treated. Me, I'm not an Igbo man, I'm a Contribarian, but I live in Abuja. But how the Igbos are being treated in Nigeria is simply truly unfair.
Oh.
Okay, we lost that call, please.
Hello.
Okay. Hello.
I think it's
network.
I think it's the network.
Yeah, okay. It's already 9 o'clock. This is how far we can go on tonight's People's Forum. Please, all right, when we start People's Forum, call in on time so we can take a call as much as possible. Thank you so much for being part of the program. For those that called in and those that have been trying to reach us and the network has been messing up, we are sorry about that. Tomorrow is another day to be part of the conversation. Don't forget to join us from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. My name is Christopher Lele. Thank you.
And I am Princess Ken Ochoma. Good night.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Now, still on the hashtag Nigeria is bleeding because of all the terrorism attack, the banditry attack and kidnapping happening in the country. The entertainment industry is not left out with that. Welcome to E-Vibes, the entertainment show on Signature TV. I'm your baby girl, Queenette Wokunta. I'll be walking you through loads and lots of stories and, of course, an interview we had with one of our guests. So let's delve into the stories of the day. Prominent gospel singer Nathaniel Bassey and Pastor Jerry Eze have called for urgent action against rising insecurity in Nigeria, urging the government and security agencies to tackle terrorism, banditry, and kidnappings. Nathaniel Bassey also expressed concern over the nation's security situation, stressing the need for accountability and decisive action. He urged the government, armed forces, intelligence agencies, and citizens to unite in confronting criminals. The call for the religious leaders follows recent violent incidents across the country, including the attack on the Christ Apostolic Church parish in ENUGU, Kwara State, where suspected bandits killed at least 2 people, and the abduction of 25 students from Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School, Maga, in Kebbi State, during which a staff member was killed. The attack have drawn widespread condemnation, with other prominent figures in the entertainment industry, including actors and comedians, also urging the government to take immediate steps to address insecurity. Now, this have been going on and on and on since the beginning of November, and we tend to wonder, when would this end? Someone said that the annoying part of this whole problem, this terrorism, this kidnapping and all that, I mean, recently yesterday, we reviewed a video of a kidnapping attack that happened in ENUGU State, and people were not able to move. They just parked their cars on the road waiting. The question is, what were they waiting for? Now, someone said the problem is this, that, oh, we are all complaining about kidnapping, terrorism and all that. The president of the country is traveling out of the country. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't done anything. So at this point, we literally have to fight for ourselves. We just find a way to handle these things, come together and deal with these people. Now, popular Nigerian actress Bukola Aruba has tackled the Kwara State First Lady Olufolake Abdulrazak over her stance on the recent church attack in the state. A branch of Christ Apostolic Church, CAC, was attacked by terrorists during a church program that was streamed live on Tuesday, November 18, 2025, at Eruku Ekiti local government area of Kwara State. 3 people were dead, with an unconfirmed number of worshippers abducted alongside the pastor. Reacting to the tragic news in the video shared on her Instagram page on Wednesday evening, the actress tackled the Kwara State First Lady Olufolake Abdulrazak for tagging the incident an attempted attack despite the live video. Contradicting the First Lady's claim, the actress, who is a native of Eruku community, stated that 3 of her family members were abducted and still with their abductors. In a video shared on her Instagram page to address the First Lady, Bukola Aruba accused her of downplaying the seriousness of the event, insisting that the attack was deadly and carried out successfully by the terrorists. Let's listen to what she said.
This video is to directly address the press release on the First Lady of Kwara State this morning regarding the bandit attack in Eruku. My name is Oluwabukola Grace Awoyemi. I'm from Eruku town, Ekiti local government, Kwara State. Ma'am, the information you got from the Kwara State police is false, ma'am. And because this involves my people directly. This has to do with my people. It was a successful attack. It was an attack, not an attempted attack, ma'am. We all saw the video. They were streaming live while the church program was going on when the bandits came in, and a lot of people were abducted. I'm so much pained when I saw the release that it was an attempted attack and nothing happened to anyone, and some people are in the hospital right now. 3 people are dead now, right now. I've spoken to a lot of people from my town, my cousins, my uncles. Presently, my cousin, like 3-4 of my cousins are in the bandits' den. They are there right now. They've been abducted. Evangelist Titi Balogun, she's right there. She's my mom's younger sister. Ebenezer, I know, is presently there. That's my cousin's son. So it was a successful attack. It wasn't an attempted one. I'm so pained right now. This is not a happy video. Because if something like that happened, and what is the direct opposite of what happened is what is being reported. It hurts me. Everybody is crying in my town now because we can't find them. We don't even know if they will be found dead or alive. So it will be very painful if we are seeing what I saw on your page, ma'am. Please, ma, that report is false. It totally contradicts what actually happened. People are dead. 3 people are dead right now, and countless people with many we don't even know their number that have been abducted now. Please save us. We don't know what to do right now. This is not in Okunland alone. The whole of Nigeria. We need help. We need help, ma. Please, ma. The information you got and that is being
Now, with that being said, I mean, nobody would have his or her family in the bandits' den or kidnapped and would be making a very demure video trying to paint words and all that. It's hurtful to see that the First Lady of Kwara State said an attempted attack when every single person saw that it was a successful attack. They were attacked. We saw it. There's no need to come say... in fact, why would you even say post something that you're not even sure of? I mean, whomever that must have helped you post that thing should be sure that, oh, this actually happened or didn't happen. You can't say it's an attempted attack when it was clear in everybody's eyes on social media that this attack happened. 3 people dead, number of people carried, you know. All right, famous Nigerian musician Davido has reacted to the abduction of schoolgirls in Kebbi State and the church attack in Kwara State. 3 people were killed during the church program at a branch at the Christ Apostolic Church in Kwara State on Tuesday evening while some members were abducted alongside the pastor. The tragic attack occurred less than 24 hours after the abduction of 25 secondary school girls in Kebbi State on Monday, November 17, 2025. Reacting to the frightening attack in a statement shared on X on Wednesday evening, Davido said, "No family deserves this pain," expressing concern over the security situation in Nigeria. The singer stated this act of violence must never become a norm. Now, this is his response to Bukola's video. You know, she's enraged, she's in pain, she's hurt. Most of her family members, her auntie, her cousins, are being abducted by the same bandits in the same church. So that particular state, thank God that they've actually closed down some of the schools in that particular local government and state for now until they sort this whole thing out, because it is quite hurtful. We are bleeding. Every single person in Nigeria is bleeding. Now, same on the same case, popular social media activist Martin Vincent Ose, widely known as Very Dark Man, has publicly condemned President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in a forceful video posted on his Instagram account. His remarks come amid mounting national outrage over a deadly church attack in Kwara State and the recent abduction of schoolgirls in Kebbi State. In the video, Very Dark Man stages a street protest alongside several men holding banners. One of the signs asks if the president is the president still alive. Another demands bring back the abducted girls, and yet another laments our nation is bleeding. Very Dark Man questions how assailants obtained assault rifles used in the church attack, challenging the government